Hey everyone, welcome back to another video where I'm gonna talk about a controversial opinion I have and start a whole another storm of complaints again. Ready for me to do it again? Yay, here we go, another controversial opinion. So hey, after my last few videos of kind of aggression and whatnot, I wanted to get back to more more my style of stuff, less fueled by emotion and more of my passions. So, here we are doing a review of something. So yeah, I'm a film person. I'm a person interested in the entertainment industry, so this is kind of my go-to stuff. But yeah, it's a controversial opinion. So, first of all, let's cover this real quick, kind of an elephant in the room. Remember a little bit back when I made those videos about movie reviewers and how sometimes, they kind of are BS and are just people having their opinions handed to them by other reviewers and whatnot? I'm gonna be briefly saying similar things in this video. No, it's kind of controversial, and a lot of people are going to be upset about me saying that. But hear me out. Some people kind of be this way. So, the movie I'm going to be talking about for this video is Chicken Little. And yes, you read the title. Can't believe I'm saying this, and a lot of people are going to be upset with me saying it. But yes, I do think Chicken Little is an underrated masterpiece. And a ton of people are going to be mad at me. Hear me out, hear me out. So, Chicken Little, it actually has a lot of parallels to the Star Wars prequels in my life. Movies I grew up with and loved as a child, and then I got older and watched some stuff on the internet and realized, hey, wait a minute, these movies suck. These reviewers are pointing out how these movies are terrible and I should despise them and everything about them. So then I went along with that and I was like, yeah, I despise these movies. These movies suck. And then I grew up even more and I was like, wait a minute. Why am I listening to these reviewers online? Why shouldn't I just watch the movies and form my own opinion? So then I did that, and I realized I actually really like the Star Wars prequels. I actually really enjoy a lot of them, and Revenge of the Sith is actually my favorite Star Wars movie to date. And everybody hates me now. Yeah, we get it. I get it. You don't like me. I got it. But yeah, I went through the same thing with Chicken Little. Watched it as a kid, liked it, grew up, heard some reviewers talking about how it was terrible, and then I was like, I guess it is terrible. And then rewatched it older now, and I'm like, you know what? I think it's an underrated masterpiece. And what is interesting, the reason I brought up the Star Wars prequels is, in recent years, these things have kind of flipped the perspective in the public. Like I said, a lot of reviewers talked about how terrible the prequels are and how they're the worst movies ever and everybody hates them. And now, after some more recent Disney Star Wars movies, people have kind of flipped their opinions and are now saying, actually, the prequels were pretty good and we were wrong to bash them so hard. So, a lot of people are, more apologetic to the prequels now and saying they actually are good movies. No one's doing that to Chicken Little yet, so here I am trying to start the conversation. I think we all owe Chicken Little an apology, and let's start this whole conversation. Alright, so first thing I want to talk about with Chicken Little is I want to talk about how the reviewers have been talking about it. I've seen a lot of reviewers talk about this movie, and a lot of them just hate it. They just despise it. They say it's the worst Disney film ever made. It's the worst. It sucks. It's horrible. Everything's terrible. It sucks. And I'm kind of confused. On rewatch, I'm kind of confused on why so many people are upset with the film. I understand they always have the same points to make. All reviewers, they all have the same points. You can get where I'm hinting at with that. They have the same points that they make about these films, or this film, and I just don't see what the problem is. A lot of people, say it's too mean, too dark, too rude to the main protagonist. And to that I say, well, that's kind of the point of the film. People are rude, people don't listen to Chicken Little, people are assholes and whatnot. And in the end, Chicken Little proves himself right, saves the day, and is praised as a hero in the end, and gets what he wanted in the end because he was right the whole time. This is the point of the movie, and people are saying, oh, why were the people so mean? Because a movie needs conflict in it? Like, what? What a weird point to make there. A lot of people complain about the dad character, Buck Cluck. People say he's like the worst character ever, and they hate him and whatnot. That's kind of the point. He's an antagonistic force in the film. He's supposed to be kind of a dick. He's supposed to be not listening to his son, not thinking about his son, and he goes through an arc and learns to listen to his son and learns to care. That's the point of his character and the point of his arc. So if he's doing his part, if he's playing his part in the story perfectly fine with what he's doing, why are so many people upset about it? Why are so many people complaining about it? And honestly, I don't really know why. I don't really know. I have some assumptions. We'll get into that. Yeah, just doesn't really make much sense. So many people agree. I saw so many different reviews of the film, and they all agree. They all agree it's horrible, it's terrible, I hate it, blah, blah, blah. But all these points they point to about it being terrible just don't really make sense to me. I don't think any of these things are an issue. This is the point of the film. The people are supposed to be assholes. The town is supposed to be antagonistic. The dad is supposed to be antagonistic. And they're supposed to learn to listen to Chicken Little by the end of the movie. That's the point. So if they're all doing what they're supposed to do in the story correctly, what's the issue? Doesn't really make much sense. One thing I did notice about these reviewers, though, it's like the one thing that's different about them is the reaction to Chicken Little as protagonist himself. This is like the one thing they don't agree on. Some of them say he's a good protagonist and you really like how he struggles, and he's struggling but he's ambitious, he gets through everything, he goes through all the obstacles and overcomes his struggles and is just doing good in his stuff. Others say they don't like him and they don't care about him and are annoyed that he doesn't talk things out with his dad enough. This is interesting how, the reviewers seemingly all agree that the movie is bad, but the protagonist, how they feel about the protagonist, arguably one of the most important things about a film, they disagree on. That's kind of interesting. How can you disagree on that but then still come to the same outcome overall in the movie? You would think there would be some kind of nuance there, some kind of difference between people in their overall seeing of the film, seeing how some people like the protagonist and some people don't. You would think that would really change the overall outcome, but it doesn't for some reason. It's almost like I said, the reviewers are handed their opinions by other people. They're already told to dislike this movie, so no matter what, they dislike the movie. Even if they watch the movie and personally like certain things of it, they still have to hate the movie and denounce the things that they like. They maybe say, yeah, Chicken Little was a good protagonist, but everything else sucks, so this movie sucks. But that's why I'm starting this conversation. Because I don't think anyone should have their voices silenced. If you like this movie, be proud of liking this movie. And if you don't like this movie, that's perfectly fine. You can talk about why you don't like this movie. But in the end, everyone should be happy to share their own opinion and not be afraid to share their own opinion. I think deep down, some of those reviewers actually kind of like this movie. And they didn't have the balls to admit it. So hey, admit it. You like the movie. I'm proud of that. Proud of that stuff. So yeah, Chicken Little, in my opinion, I think he is a good protagonist. I get that some people are annoyed that he didn't talk to his father more, but I related to the character. I understood the character. And this is kind of a big thing with this film is, even though I saw different reviews and whatnot, if I'm honest, that's where I'm going to get into a little bit of a conversation. I'm going to be careful with it, but all I'm going to say is, the reviewers I saw, there wasn't much diversity in said viewers. And I'm just saying, maybe there's some kind of nuance to the movies that maybe certain people from certain areas, certain cultures and whatnot, maybe didn't pick it up. And maybe other people would pick it up better. I'm just saying, a lot of the people bashing this film seem to be, Caucasian men, mostly. So I'm just saying, maybe there's some kind of nuance there. Maybe women would like this movie better. It's all about Chicken Little not being heard. He's trying to speak and nobody's listening to him. Maybe women could kind of relate to that more. Maybe they also try and talk about certain issues and people don't listen to them. Maybe they can appreciate that more. Maybe LGBTQ plus members could appreciate this film more about, struggling to be accepted into society and maybe struggling to even talk to your family about certain things. Maybe they can appreciate those kind of themes more. Maybe minority groups can relate to, feeling like an outsider and having so many people look at you in a certain way. During that baseball scene, that one guy announces it's Chicken Little, and he's like, oh, it's Chicken Little, yeah. Maybe certain people in certain groups can relate to that, where people kind of roll their eyes and they're like, oh, it's you, kind of thing. Maybe certain people can relate to that, and the reviewers reviewing it maybe just couldn't relate to that and just kind of missed that side of it. So I think Chicken Little is a good protagonist, and I related to some of his struggles. The movie is very aggressive in what it's doing, but I think the movie should be seen as more of an experience. The movie, I've felt like Chicken Little. I've never truly been Chicken Little. I've never been beaten down as much as he did or any of that. That would just be absurd. But I've felt that way before. I've felt that thing. And with, the whole, October 13th situation and whatnot, I kind of had similar feelings of, I'm trying to talk, I'm trying to get things fixed, and nobody's listening to me. Nobody's listening to what I have to say, and I'm like, what serious things happened? Why aren't you guys listening to me? And so many people just didn't listen. And it felt like this movie. It felt like I was just getting beat down, everybody hates me, everybody's turning against me. Of course, that's not the true reality of everything. Everyone wasn't acting like they do in this movie, but that's how it felt. And that's what's kind of important about fiction and whatnot is it's fiction. It's all fake. It's all fake. It's not supposed to be super accurate to reality. It's fake. It's supposed to make you feel certain things, make you feel certain ways. I talked about Star Wars earlier. Star Wars is like the biggest franchise of all time. There's no laser swords or spaceships and all that stuff in the real world. It's about what the movie makes you feel. What you feel through that stuff. And I think Chicken Little succeeds at making you feel the right things rather than portraying actual, accurate reality. It's a talking chicken. Why would it be real? It's about the feeling. So, going off of that, I get that Chicken Little doesn't talk to his father, and some people were annoyed with that, but once again, I kind of related to this. I struggle to communicate things from time to time too, and plenty of other people have these kinds of struggles. Even with people around you, you try and talk to them about things, but they just don't get it. This is a relatable thing. Plenty of people have gone through this stuff. You try to talk to people about your issues in life, and they just don't get it. You tell them, like, I feel really passionate about this, I'm really feeling this way, and they just say, like, don't worry about it, don't worry about it, it's not a big deal. And they just don't understand, like, how important certain things are to you and how they really make you feel. You talk to some other people and they just don't get it. It just doesn't click. And I think that's very relatable to a lot of people. The reason I think this movie is an underrated masterpiece, thinking about this movie, I know I like certain aspects more than other people. I think certain things were way better than people give them credit for, but the reason I'm specifically saying it's an underrated masterpiece and whatnot with this film is because I think this film is most important right now. I think we need a film like this right now. A film that says we need to listen to each other and be understanding with each other. Communication is key, and that is something we are lacking right now. Why are so many people at each other's throats? Why is there so much chaos right now? Why, I don't want to get into too many things, but, politics is all over the place and all that, and blah, blah, blah. People were happy that Twitter, got ruined because everyone was tired of just yelling at each other and having arguments all the time. They're happy that Twitter is gone now. Why is this the case? Because people struggle to truly communicate with each other. Maybe you throw stuff out on Twitter and say things, but you don't really communicate effectively. And nobody really wants to listen to each other. Nobody wants to actually listen. A lot of people covering this movie talk about how hateable the dad is and whatnot. But what a lot of people didn't realize is we are the dad in this movie. So many people in the world are the dad of this movie. So many people are Buck Cluck in this movie. So many people don't listen. So many people have someone over there begging them, please listen to me, please do this for me, you have to believe me, blah, blah, blah. And so many people don't listen. So many people sell out their friend, throw them under the bus, and do all these things for their own benefit. And I think that's a very important thing to talk about. I agree, he's a very questionable character and problematic, and that's the point. What you don't realize, some people say it's inaccurate, it's not realistic. It's very realistic, actually. So many people are like that. So, this really raises the question, why do so many people hate this movie? Where did it all start? Where did it all come from? Maybe one reviewer, just came out and said it was terrible, and then everybody just agreed from there, but where did it start? Where did that first reviewer who made that review come from? Where did it all start from? Now I'm going to throw out my assumptions I talked about earlier. I'm going to say this. And this is going to sound crazy, but hear me out. I think Chicken Little got too real. Yes, this movie about a talking chicken with aliens, the sky falling, and all that ridiculousness, I think this movie got too real and it scared people. Because, like I said, the heart of this film, it all comes about listening to each other and understanding each other. Specifically when it comes to family. And I think that scared people. I think that actually scared some people into hating this movie. The idea of a perfect family, a wonderful, beautiful family, is something a lot of people really strive for and really want in life, and it's very scary to think about the idea of your family not being perfect. It's a scary thing. You grew up with them, you love them, you want to be happy with them forever. But the idea of maybe they aren't perfect. Maybe they do have some kind of problems. Not saying your family sucks, go beat them up or something like, no, that's ridiculous. But what I'm saying is, talk to them. Just like this film said. Talk to them. Discuss things with them. Have closure with them. Instead of ignoring everything, ignoring all the problems, pushing things off and not talking about this or that and whatnot. We don't talk about this, we don't talk about that, we don't talk about Bruno. Maybe you should talk about Bruno. Maybe you should talk things out. And that's why I think people didn't like this film. Because it got too real. It told them to talk about their problems, to communicate with their family. And people were afraid to do that. And thus, they instead attacked the film and talked a bunch of trash about it and said it was the worst thing ever, blah, blah, blah. Because they themselves were too afraid to actually talk about the real problems. And now that we've really covered all of that, let's be real here. Chicken Little is very weird. It's a very weird film. The comedy is very hit or miss, and everything in the movie is just very hit or miss. There are weird pop songs at times. Some of the jokes are just weird and not funny, and then other ones are actually, like, funny because of the bizarre nature of them. It's very hit or miss and whatnot. And yeah, that's kind of up to the viewer if you're gonna be super annoyed with the pop songs or annoyed with this reference or irritated by this joke or that joke. You know, it's very up to the viewer. But in the end, I still think this is a great movie. Even if certain aspects don't work for you, I think it's still a great movie because in the end, the heart and soul and the message of this film, I think it's the most important thing. And I think the film does a good job doing said thing. It maybe could have still done a little bit better with its portrayal in the end, you know. Buck Cluck got off a little nice, but in the end, they still had to talk things out and still come to some kind of conclusion. I think that's a good thing that the movie did that. I think this movie succeeded at what it did set out to do. And I think a lot of people have been mistreating the movie and whatnot because they're afraid of the message of the movie. They're afraid to talk about their feelings. They're afraid to talk about these things. But I don't think we should be afraid anymore. I think we should be willing to talk about these things. Yeah. So yeah, I just made a whole speech about Chicken Little. Yeah, I didn't really think that was ever gonna come up, but you know what? It came up. It came up on my mind, came up on the schedule. I was like, hey, I should make a video, and here's something I'm passionate about, and here it is. Yeah, I think this movie is an underrated masterpiece. I don't think we should be afraid to say that. And I think the idea of talking it out with people, I think that's a beautiful message. Recently, yeah, I made the We Don't Talk About Bruno reference. Encanto did a similar thing, talking about trauma within family. And a lot of people really praised it for doing that and thought it was great, and I agree. I really like what that film did. But the thing is, I feel like Chicken Little kind of did similar stuff and got a ton of shit for it. So I feel bad for Chicken Little. I'm like, what? Chicken Little did a fine job doing it too. I like both movies. But yeah. Thanks for watching. Don't be afraid to have your own opinions. Don't be afraid to say what those opinions are. Be proud of who you are. And be understanding of other people as well. Just talk things out, understand each other, and communicate well. Make McChickens, not war. Alright. No, the comments are coming in fast. Let's get this going. Alright. Alright, comment section. Let's go!